I want to take a look at the Anthem demo, the good, the bad and the ugly. There's a lot of bashing going on and a lot of negativity, and I think it's good to divide the topics here, to offer some perspective. I'm also assuming you know what this game is about, so I'm not getting into that. Let's start with the good.
You know, he's 3 people now. You could pick the one you like best.
No, don't. Don't even think of starting with that nonsense.
Just putting it out there.
No!
Not even a little tempted?
Stop it. Go away.
Sure. Take care, Aruna.
Anthem has some really solid gameplay at its core. This is not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, and anyone who claims this is biased by either the bad or the ugly, but we'll get to that. I loved flying around like Tony Stark through these impressive worlds. The amount of detail is pretty staggering, and these aren't even the highest available settings. BioWare made this world come to life, even though some areas are barren of enemies. On missions and dungeons, however, you go through various lush environments, and I really appreciate the universe the developers have created. There's been some comments about the controls, particularly mouse and keyboard on PC, but after an hour of literally flying into every object available, you get the hang of it. Right now I can easily play with mouse and keyboard, maneuver very precisely and use the mouse for accurate aiming, which brings me to the combat. The combat is some of the most fun I've had in a co-op multiplayer since The Division. It's just good and solid, raining down hell on enemies, shooting them with a sniper. It's all smooth and visceral. The guns and abilities also feel impactful because of a combination of really amazing sound effects and decent graphics. Just listen to the sounds of these guns. Something else I thought was more than decent was the short amount of storyline we saw with the demo, with Matthias being divided in 3 during our 2 missions.
Matthias? Well, this is...
You're jumping halfway into an existing story, but it still seems interesting. Matthias is animated, okay-ish, and voice acted very well in fact. Not only Matthias has a convincing delivery, also many others do, like the bartender Amal, or this woman who is sort of the relic expert over here.
After it. What did you tell her?
Here's the thing, she's beautiful, but mysterious, so I never gave her an answer. What do you think I should do?
I've played the old BioWare games, all those beautiful single player games from the original KOTOR to Jade Empire to Dragon Age to Mass Effect, and every single time I was completely immersed in them, playing day in, day out for 40 hours until I finished it. Those are awesome games. Expecting this sort of experience out of an online multiplayer game just isn't realistic. It's not going to have that level of immersion because there's trade-offs that need to be made. You'll need something enticing to keep players coming back, like daily missions, loot grinds, reputation, other rewards that require mundane grinding. You need ways to interact with other people and NPCs, and true freedom and choices that matter are a lot harder to achieve in an MMORPG, because everyone is inhabiting the same world. You need an online server to be available to play with all the dependencies that brings, which also has its effect on gameplay. In this case, that's mostly a negative thing, by the way. You need many more things to make a successful online game, and it takes its toll on immersion. How much exactly remains to be seen. I have some hope for this game in that regard. What I've seen is mostly convincing, and this game has huge potential for massive and interesting dungeons, raids, storylines, epic discoveries, you name it. The skeleton for all of this exists, with the hub Tarsus you can walk around in, the free play missions that incentivize exploration and offer opportunities for world events, the missions to progress the narrative, and the strongholds as a placeholder for some epic events. Now let's hope they build on this skeleton and give the community some experiences that are worth remembering, like the Revan story in KOTOR, walking along the Sword Coast in Baldur's Gate, or the impactful choices of Shepard in Mass Effect. There's also the matter of endgame, but that's going to be difficult to judge right now. While endgame is a prerequisite for people playing this game, for me it's not necessarily relevant. If there is no endgame, I'll just go play another game, like The Division 2 by that time. I'm not sure how realistic it is to expect to sink 200 hours into Anthem at this point. We'll have to see. Then there's the bad. There's plenty of bad too, and I'm going to separate the bad into two categories, which are 1. Technical issues and 2. Gameplay issues. The technical issues come around often and hard. I've played around 10 hours of the demo and had around 10 disconnects, sometimes at some really unfortunate times, like near the end of the 1 hour stronghold mission. You lose all progress and have to start over. That's pretty much a game-breaking bug right there, killing progression and also negatively impacting my enthusiasm for playing the game. BioWare apparently promised to do better after the VIP demo, but the complaints I heard from VIPs were very similar to my own experience. This has to be fixed within 2 weeks. Good luck with that. I've also encountered plenty of graphical and audio bugs. Enemies sometimes just disappeared when you came close, especially in freeform mode. That's not a huge deal to me. What were the audio bugs. There were times I couldn't hear either myself, my gun or my surroundings, which makes the game pretty much unplayable. I also noticed that in quite some parts of the game there is no music.
Just stay safe.
This could be intended, I don't know, but it made the game seem more empty than it needs to be. Music sometimes also starts playing at inappropriate times, for example bombastic music after we finished a 5-minute battle. These are all technical issues I encountered, which will most likely be fixed. I don't think at launch because there's just too many things not working, but if they iron out the most annoying ones like audio and disconnects, this game is technically in a more than acceptable state. Let's jump into the gameplay issues. These are much more serious by its very nature because root causes of these issues are things like bad game design. First off, Anthem has a lot of loading screens. These things are everywhere. While walking around in Tarsus, while going into the Forge to customize your javelin, when changing areas and missions, when starting missions, when ending missions, when exploring in free play, everywhere. And it basically ruins immersion having to watch so many of these. Another real concern in my opinion are the boss and battle mechanics. The enemies are bullet sponges. Now I don't necessarily dislike bullet sponges, but let me show you what happened in a world event over here, where I need to kill these two creatures. That's pretty horrible. This is just wasting my time. These guys pose no threat whatsoever, but still take around 10 minutes to kill. I felt somewhat similar in the strongholds and missions. Enemies aren't particularly threatening, but they just take ages to kill. And that's bad game design. It's bad because difficulty levels are according to BioWare synchronous to enemy health and enemy damage. And that's a problem because difficulty should be tied to battle tactics and strategy. I want the boss to gain more abilities and be more deadly when I play on higher difficulty levels. I want the boss on normal difficulty to be somewhat challenging but doable with a bunch of random characters. I want the boss on hard to have mechanics that require at least some individual strategies to employ, like deploying shields or evading deadly attacks. And I expect bosses on Grandmaster not to have 1500% additional health and damage, but just 3 more abilities, which can kill anyone in the room, unless you hide with your group under the ranger shield, for example. Or unless you kill some minions in time, pull a lever, I don't know, some actual battle mechanics. The kind where if you fail to understand them, you kill everyone in the room.
Fuck!
We got 2 healers though.
That's a fucking 50 DKP minus!
2 normals.
What the fuck was that shit?
The priest.
The kind that make a game challenging and rewarding. That's what I want. Not plus 2000% health and damage output. That makes no sense whatsoever, and it just means that higher difficulty levels play exactly the same as the lower ones, with nothing new to them. Time for the ugly.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
It's actually in the company. EA will most likely ruin this game, one way or another, because EA has ruined every game they laid their hands on lately. All the crap that EA gets from these online communities does, in my opinion, not require any nuance, because it is more than deserved. EA will kill this game in the long run for any money they can make in the short run. But still, let's try to see this also a little bit in perspective. This game isn't a bad game to begin with. I mean, this ain't Fallout 76 kind of quality. It is, judging from the demo, a decent looter shooter game. And if that's what you can live with, and just forget the single player Bioware games for a while, then maybe you can agree with Angry Joe here.
And you know what? I'm not like every other person where, you know, you have to satisfy me for 2.5 years with the single game. Nah, if you can give me a good, you know, I'd say 30 hours, 40 hours, you know, then I'll be satisfied, I think. If it's a good story, if it's, you know, satisfying conclusion.
To me, this is very true. If I can get a decent amount of playtime out of this with the fun I've had in the demo so far, I'm actually satisfied, even for a full priced game. Sure, I wouldn't mind more playtime, but I'm not expecting World of Warcraft endgame content here. To conclude, I'm sure I get a bit of flack for this video, that's fine. I just don't want to trash talk on what seems to be a decent game, once again judging from the demo. Just because it's published by EA, and just because it isn't a single player Bioware game, or just because they're charging insane amounts for cosmetics. Anthem seems like a fun game, with very solid gameplay and mechanics, but also with 2 major issues, the connection issues and the bullet spongy enemies. If that is fixed though, they have a really decent game on their hands, which I'm looking forward to play. I hope Anthem's actual game is certainly not worse than the demo, but I will keep you posted, because I'm getting this game one way or another, and I expect to have a good time with it as well. Thanks for watching, let me know your thoughts on the game, preferably in some sort of civilized way. I'll see you soon guys, bye bye.